I guess. Finally.
I'm so happy to see, as happy to see you as Aishwarya Rai. I would have.
Yeah, I guess. Thanks to the internet.
Yeah, आपको देखकर मुझे इतनी खुशी हो रही है. You have a lovely mustache. You get a lot of compliments on this mustache, Chef Amit.
Thank you.
Right. So
when you start working for yourself, you can do whatever you feel like. I never had a luxury of keeping a long mustache when I was in a corporate job. Now I work for myself.
Great. Congrats for being an entrepreneur. And I think if I can say, I was looking at your journey. You have a wonderful journey from, first of all, from Oberoi Hotels, where I think one of the most, my 360, 361, most of the restaurants I like, other than Indian, non-Indian. Worked in Dublin, Ireland for 5-6 years.
Yes, I did.
And Hyderabad as well. I think so. I think the restaurants you started in Dublin, Jaipur, right?
Absolutely. This was in 2001. When I decided that I had done enough of hotels. So and every Indian chef has a dream, to go abroad. Grass is always greener on the other side. So you want to go to the other side pastures and see how green is the grass. So I did that in 2001.
But one thing I can say about Ireland, the grass is definitely green. I have been there. It's actually very green grass.
Yeah. So there's a song in Ireland which is very popular. It's called 36 Shades of Green.
Oh, really? Oh.
I don't know if you've heard of that. So you must listen to that song. No. It's a folk song.
But was it before 50 Shades of Grey, or it was after?
Yeah, because they see the green, just for a little while. The grass is green, but the skies are gray most of the time. So when it's sunny outside, then you see the 36 shades of green. So that's what I'll talk about.
So tell us a little bit about your journey in Oberoi Hotel. I think you were doing in La Rochelle, the French restaurant there. Then you were in Dublin with the Indian restaurant. So tell us a bit about your journey yourself.
Yeah. So Vishal, it started in '94. I was doing hospitality, in Bangalore, IHM, and I was lucky among 13 students which were picked up by Oberoi Hotels for their chefs program. It used to be kitchen training program at that time, and OCLD, which is now Oberoi Center of Learning Development. At those days, it was called OSHM, Oberoi School of Hotel Management. So you do 3 years of diploma, and then you get selected as a trainee chef. It's like a joining forge, military. So this was in 94. So I'm 94, 96, 97 batch. So I got trained by Oberoi, in their kitchens, training kitchens. And during training, I was moved around in different hotels, small deputations where we worked in different kitchens. And my first posting was in 96 as a trainee chef at Oberoi Grand, Calcutta. Wow. The Grand. Yeah, so it all started with bang, with 2 active unions. So I was like a little tadpole in a big sea. But a lot of learning. I think the city itself grows on you. I had a brief stint, year and a half, where I learned a lot about the local cuisine, the local people. Bengalis are, I think, the sweetest people around. When you get along well with them. So some interesting stories of Grand. Just year and a half, and then I moved to Oberoi, New Delhi. I was getting married in 98, so 97 and I moved to Oberoi, New Delhi.
Banthai there that time?
Banthai was there. So I was part of Banthai opening team.
Oh, okay. It was in the basement of Oberoi, Delhi, right?
Absolutely. Now it is spa there. So those were the old days. So I saw the opening of Banthai, and so as a young chef, when I just moved after a year of experience. My actually final year of Oberoi school training happened in Oberoi Grand. So I was a training chef, and then at Oberoi New Delhi I became a sous chef. So I was given a small side role in La Rochelle. So La Rochelle used to be, what Zodiac Grill is or was at that time with Taj. So and La Rochelle was always under the executive chef, which was always expat. So we had a French chef, a huge personality
And
at that time.
Oberoi Delhi, the top floor, which was a Chinese restaurant there?
Taipan.
Taipan. Yeah, so Taipan and Ban Thai that time used to be my favorite in 90, but they were really good. But
I don't know.
But Oberoi is known for their 360 Conti cuisine, Ban Thai, Taipan. But are they not known for their Indian cuisine the way, you know, Sheraton is known?
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, Sheraton, it's all about marketing. You know, we never marketed our food, to be honest. You know, in those days. Now things are different. Now, you know, there are social media, it's important. But those days, Oberoi was all about rooms, all about luxury. And we actually never marketed a restaurant. And since there was such a big brand, Bukhara, there, and we did nothing for Kandahar. I'll be very honest. We had a beautiful restaurant, equally good food, but we never spoke about it. We never spoke about La Rochelle as well. So people would come to La Rochelle, and Palms was the coffee shop those days. They would come to La Rochelle to eat the fine French food, you know, with all 6 course, 7 course, 13 course menus. So I was part of that. So people had already decided in their mind, you want to eat continental food, Asian food, go to Oberoi. You want to eat Indian food, go to Taj or ITC. So that's how it worked. And we also never did anything about it. And, you know, we always had a corporate structure which was always handled by expat chefs. And they knew nothing. We never hired an Indian chef like, due respects, Chef Qureshi did, you know, so much for Dampuk and other beautiful restaurants which ITC had, and other hotels also have chefs associated with it. But we never did that. So we didn't market, I guess. That's where we lost.
Maybe Mr. Oberoi himself, I'm just saying it with a, you know, sort of a tongue-in-cheek. Maybe he liked more Conti or more Asian food. Maybe not so much Indian. You know, who knows, right? Maybe.
I would agree. He's a foodie. I mean, nowadays he eats Indian food. He knows his food. He knows his food. But yes, of course, you know, those days he would prefer Western food because his clientele was people from West. He was hosting dinners for, you know, gentlemen who would travel from Far East, or they would travel from European countries. So I guess, and because we were the trendsetters, we were bringing in everything from Europe, all the meats, even the herbs, even the dhania in my kitchen, you would come from Holland those days. Absolutely. So
that speaks for, you know, I think, and tell us a bit about your Dublin experience. How did you end up there? How was the experience? I know the restaurants you created got a lot of awards there. So how was the experience there?
So I think, you know, honestly speaking, I always wanted to be an Indian chef because, yeah, Indian cuisine was always very close to my heart. But working with Oberoi's, I never got that chance. I was a chef of eventually I became a chef of La Rochelle, you know, within 3 years. And simultaneously, I was honing my skills in Indian kitchen. The banquet kitchen was just behind my kitchen, and I would just go and I'll do a kebab over there and learn how to make rumali or breads or whatever. So I kept on learning. I would stand on live counters, do a dosa. So all that was happening. My training was happening, and then my understanding of Western food, Western ingredients was happening in La Rochelle, how to plate a food beautifully. And then I was fortunate enough to work with different expats, you know, who had a different approach to food. So classical French became new world cuisine in La Rochelle, where we were using different ingredients from all over the world, and we were putting them on a plate. So that opened my mind. And then I started thinking different, how should I plate my food? So in 1997, I made a battak ke galoti. So duck galoti I made in 1997, and I served it with a apple chutney.
Wow.
And I was already making my, you know, new world Indian cuisine menu at that time. You know, I would make a seafood rasam and I would plate it because my understanding of Indian food was getting better and better. But time was passing, and my culinary skills in La Rochelle were getting better, refined, because I learned my technique from there. And of course, there are a lot of Indian techniques as well I was learning. So I broadly had my menu ready that if one day I go abroad, and so that kind of food was not, you know, expected in India at that time, 94, 97 I'm talking about. So I wanted to work abroad. We had Chef Atul Kochar who moved to Tamarind. So I was working in his kitchen. So he was inspiration for me.
We are going to have a chef series with Atul Kochar next month.
Yeah, so he was my inspiration. He says, where Atul has gone, one day I want to go. So Atul went from La Rochelle and he did Tamarind, and then he won his first Michelin. So that was my dream.
You worked
So
with
yes, I worked with Atul. I was in his kitchen, La Rochelle, when he left for London. So my time came in 2001, where I got this beautiful opportunity to work for, ex-Oberoi chef who had opened one restaurant in Dublin, and he wanted me to take care of that, along with new openings which were happening. So we opened a restaurant in Dalkey when I went, which is a suburb, a big village where all the who's and who's of Dublin and Ireland stayed. So from there we opened the second, the third, the fourth. So in 5 years we opened 4 restaurants, and it was a phenomenal journey. I had to start from scratch. I had to actually make Irish people understand what Indian food is all about. Because
Irish people know ham, they know potatoes, they know mustard. So
yeah.
do they appreciate the Indian spices, or were they asking for butter chicken or chicken tikka masala, or you were?
They were. So, I mean, we took over an old restaurant which was there for around 25, 30 years on a Castle Street in Dalkey, which is this snooty village. P.S. Brosnan was my neighbor in my neighborhood, and Christy Berg in my neighborhood as well. Van Morrison. So these were the people who were living there. But they would come for tikka masala.
Did Brosnan came to your restaurant?
Yes, he did. I have photographs with him. Yeah.
The photograph. Wow. And even Morrison?
Van Morrison, P.S. Brosnan, Bono of U2.
Wow.
So I did a takeaway of chicken tikka masala for Bono.
Wow.
And he just walked out of his car, and just we had our takeaway ready because he would not sit in the restaurant. And then he said, "I forgot my wallet." I said, "Absolutely no problem, sir. We don't need money." So, I mean, it was a neighborhood restaurant, it was just close by. I mean, of course, he just casually moved. And similarly, Van Morrison was there every Thursday. And, he would discuss his new movies, new things. So it was great interaction with the guest. And around 80% of the guests in my restaurant knew each other because it was a neighborhood restaurant.
That's very interesting. And what were the kind of dishes you did in your Dublin restaurant, Jaipur?
So as I said, Vishal, we were actually, trying to teach people what Indian food is all about. They were used to, bright red gravies. They were used to a lot of color in rice. They were used to maybe 2-3 sauce and everything cooked in that sauce. In the Balti cuisine, typically where they just make 2-3 sauce, they have boiled some meat and vegetable and just toss it up and call it Indian food. So that was happening for the last 20-30 years. So to give them home style, simple North Indian, South Indian, the coastal curries from Goa, from Kerala, from Karnataka. So slowly we started introducing those. We made biryani, which was not red and yellow color. It had just a light color of saffron, and they said, "This is not biryani." I said, "Yeah, it's not your fault because you've been eating wrong, multicolored biryani all this time." But then they came back to me. He says, "Your food is light." I said, "Yes, because this is how we eat at home. This is how the Indian food is eaten." So slowly, it took me nearly 6 months to actually unlearn their habits. And finally, they accepted our food. And then there was no looking back. I mean, then we opened the second, the third, the fourth, and our sales, doubled, tripled. And of course, the awards kept coming in. So the wall outside our restaurant is still full of awards. All the plaques are still there.
So were you doing the mutton galotis there with the Wicklow lamb?
Of course. Wicklow was the closest county. The next mountain range is the Wicklow range, which you see from Dalkey. And that's where the lamb came because the green pastures are there. So it's a very famous lamb from Ireland, world famous, just like New Zealand lamb. So yes, of course. We initially, of course, the Rogan Josh and the, Nallika Korma, we tried all these dishes. Then they liked eating chops. So we did a barra kebab with chops, which is easy picking and easy eating. And of course, they don't appreciate lamb on the bone. So then I did try gilauti, which is easy to eat, and they were mesmerized. I mean, of course, the flavors are a little different because the quality of meat is different. It's a sheep, not the goat, what we are used to here. But then you put spices in proportion to make sure that you don't get that kind of strong flavor, which we are not used to, but there are. So it worked very well. And then I did kind of, different kind of relishes and chutneys which we did as accompaniment, and then presented that. It was very well accepted with the ulte tawe ka paratha.
And also, so tell me about biryani. Of course, we are quite interested. Did you used to give dum to the biryani in Dublin, the traditional way, the kachi biryani?
I did. Vishal, you'll be surprised. I took lagans from Delhi, old Delhi. Wow. I learned how to kalai them, tinning of lagan. I learned.
The benefit what lagan is for some people who might not know what a lagan is.
So I mean, it's a very heavy brass vessel which is flat. So for biryani cooking, you need a big surface area. I mean, of course, we cook biryani in cookers at home, but because you want rice to come up absolutely grain separate, so it needs space to cook. So lagan is a broader vessel which is typically used in cooking in Hyderabad, or if you go to Lucknow.
Yes. How were you able to carry the lagan to Ireland? In the flight?
No, we sent it by ship. It doesn't make logical sense, yes. But shipping, it took nearly a month and a half. So just before I joined, all my stuff was there. There were lagans, there were small handis. So we would exactly do what you do, very nicely you do. The handis come sealed, the biryani is cooked in the handi. And, it is very similar. I did that in Dublin. So it was a big thing. And you open the handi in front of the guest. They can smell the flavors, aroma. They can smell the saffron. So delicate flavors. So that's what I think kept the thing going.
While we are on biryani, how did you like biryani by kilo biryani? You tried the Hyderabadi, the Lucknowi biryanis.
I must say you spoilt me, Vishal. It was such a beautiful meal we had. It's very rare that we sit out with our families and enjoy the meal. And I think it was one of those occasions when, the entire family came together and we enjoyed. So Hyderabadi, I had a Hyderabadi biryani and we had a Lucknowi biryani, and then we had a vegetarian version, the Kathal biryani. I tried the Kathal biryani as well. So I started with Kathal biryani because it's delicate. And then we went to Lucknowi because it's again delicate. And then we moved to Hyderabadi. And of course we had a Mirchi ka salan. We had a burani raita. I think the flavors were just perfect. Your choice of ingredients and the cooking behind it, the proper technique, how the biryani should be cooked, how much proportion of meat and rice, all that was just perfect. I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, I would not expect that to come at my doorstep in a sealed handi, and the handi was actually sealed. It was baked. Some people just put a dough, put in microwave, and the dough is still wet. When the handi comes, but this was actually baked. You had to, open it with a fork or a knife inside, and the aromas came out, and the beautiful lamp which you provide. I think there's a lot of thought process which has gone in your product. I really admire you, how you've looked into smaller details of color coding. The biryanis, the vegetarian ones are the green and the non-vegetarians are white, so that straight away you can see. I think it was beautiful. Thank you for a wonderful meal.
For appreciating, coming from chefs of your caliber. It matters a lot. And if I can, you might have realized, but biryani by kilo USP is that we dum cook the biryani in the same handi in which we deliver it to the customer, and it's dum cooked only after the order comes. So everything is fresh. The basmati rice is 2 years naturally aged. The spices are handpicked from Kerala, Lucknow, etc. The meats are butchered in our own central butchery. So we do take care a lot. And I think you didn't try our galottis. Next time you have to try them. They melt in the mouths. But you did
I'm going to order that soon.
Yes. But you did try our paneer nawabi and firni, right? How did you like that?
Very good. I think the flavors were just spot on. Firni, I in fact enjoyed the next day as well. It kept very well in my fridge. So I think it's a generous helping. Your portion size are pretty decent. I think, when you are sharing with your family, so it was just perfect. And I enjoyed the firni, in fact, the next day as well. It was just spot on. Very nice. Very nicely done, Vishal. I congratulate you. And no wonder, Biryani by Kilo is doing so well. And I really wish you that we would love to see this chain of, takeaways all over in Europe and everywhere in the world.
So next year, we will take your help in going to Ireland as well.
It'll be an honor. It'll be a pleasure.
also, like some people are a bit concerned nowadays about safety. So on Biryani by Kilo website, we have put a safety standard step so everyone can see we are taking a lot of extra steps in terms of contactless delivery, tamper-proof sealed bag, putting all employees' temperature on website, sanitizing the kitchen every hour. So I hope you felt safe while receiving the food. Like, was it a good experience?
Of course, because see, I think nothing can go wrong. The biryanis were biryani is sealed in handi. It is cooked at a high temperature, so it is everything sealed. It is cooked on dum. So the food inside, there is no question of contamination or anything. And the way it was delivered also, it came in a bag, and I lift the bag myself. And of course, the delivery person was taking full precaution. So I think anything which is sealed, which is vacuum sealed, it's the way forward. Especially in these days, we have to take precautions. And in fact, my product also is on similar lines. I've taken clues from so I've just done a small little chutney line, which you're aware.
So please tell us about, and the viewers, I know you are coming up with a very new line of relishes, and I know from Ireland where you've worked, Ballymaloo is known for that, right? I hope, and Ireland is known for that. So would you like to show us some of the things you are doing right now? I think a lot of people will love to know more about it and order from you.
Right. So, Vishal, chefs cannot sit idle. We've been used to working 14 to 16 hours a day, but at home, how much can you do? Some meetings online, some cooking classes. So I thought came up. So I was cooking at home. So I just, made this product. It's called Anyas.
Can you bring it?
Yeah. So it's called Anyas. So this is a jamun relish. Look at the color. So this is one of them, and then I've got a pineapple and curry leaf relish. So I'm doing pineapple, curry leaf, and ginger.
So how do you want people to eat it? On a bread, on a toast in the morning, or with
anything? I'm going to spoil people. It is your mood. It depends when you want to eat it, and trust me, you taste it. I have my friends who've tried it. They just can't stop. So you open the jar in the morning. You would love to put it on toast, or you would love to have it on paratha. You have a little craving for a dessert. You put it on a yogurt and eat.
Wow.
So I think on a tea time during evening, I mean, you make pakoras or you make something. If it's raining outside, so try I've got a tamarind somewhere here, a beautiful tamarind and date relish. So I do 2 size jars, 200 ml and 350 ml. So just launch this product. There's a soft launch which I've done, and from a small kitchen, but we want to scale it up slowly. I mean, I want to take step by step, get the product right, bring it to my friends and my friends and known people. So some of you can directly get in touch with me through my Instagram and my Facebook, and I call them directly. So it's my personal thing. I cook it myself, I bottle it myself, and I have a very small team which does the labeling part, and then we deliver it with love. So I call it jars of love.
No, I think you'll do very, very well. From a chef of your caliber, whatever you do, and even the combination, when you say pineapple with curry leaves or tamarind, the combination you've done. I think
so this will bring you back to your childhood memory. When we were in school, we would eat jamun with some chili, with some black salt. So these are the things which I have added. I've made a lemon chili jam.
Wow.
This will bring back your memories from your grandmother's lemon pickle, the black pickle, which will be aging for years, and the taste, you will get the same taste in my lemon chili jam.
Preservatives, right? I think.
Yeah. So I've got around 12 to 15 products right now, and I keep changing.
No, I mean to say no preservatives in this.
No preservatives in it. No preservatives. So the shelf life obviously is low, but I want to do this gourmet stuff. I do not want to put it on a store and put fillers and put preservatives and give this is exactly what I would do in my restaurant, in my Indian restaurant. So so the process I do is I pasteurize these jars myself. Then I do a hot filling.
Wow.
Like you would do a hot biryani, you will seal. So I'll put this lid and I will pasteurize again. So naturally the jar will have a vacuum seal. So this is now a vacuum sealed jar. So it will pop open, and that's it. It stays It stays for good week 10 days. And once you open it, it stays in the fridge for a month, 15 days to up to a month, depending on what you have.
No, I think a lot of people will, really enjoy it. And best of luck. I think you'll do very, very well. And also, today I understand you're going to give us very good tips or teach us about a dish, right? It is what soya keema matar.
So it's, I mean, you keep inspiring me about gilauti. So I said, maybe I cannot do such a good gilauti lamb. Getting lamb right now at home, could be a challenge. So why not do something vegetarian? Because there are a lot of vegetarian viewers, and especially these days, people are off meat as well. So I thought, let me just do something with soya keema, which is easy to get. Something quick and easy. So we're doing a small tikki kind of kebab, which is pan fried. And it goes very well with my relish.
Wow.
So any of the relish you can pick up.
Are
so
we ready to go through?
We are ready. We can start.
Okay,
all right. So let's get to my kitchen.
Yes.
And let's see what we got. I've already prepped few things, and we'll just take it forward. Let's go.
So you start soya with what? Some Nutri-Nuggets kind of thing? Soya, Ruchi soya?
Right. So I will just show you here. So we are in my kitchen, and so this is a soya granules what you get. Now you get soya chunks as well, but this is the granule part. So you soak this in warm water, or maybe you just give it one boil, and then they become soft. They become soft like this.
Okay.
So this is exactly like keema. Now, if you don't want soya, if somebody loves keema, you can do a lamb keema or a chicken keema like this. Okay, this is exactly how it would. And then I will just bhuno this in a pan. Just cook it nicely with a little bit of ghee and some whole spices. You kind of cook it well in a non-stick pan or in a kadhai. And then what you do is you would need some boiled potato, which is parboiled as a binding. Of course, I've used some green peas. These are beautiful green peas. You can just chop it up roughly. Some onion chopped. I've got some green chili. I've got some ginger. And then just do a little coating, so that the kebab is nice and crisp. I've used a semolina. So that's a quick coating. And for spice mixes, I've used anardana powder. I've used, this is kasuri methi. And then, of course, the Kashmiri chili powder. And I love using black salt in my cooking. In fact, most of my chutneys, I use black salt instead of normal white salt. So this is a beautiful Himalayan pink salt and a black salt mix. Then this is a little garam masala, which I use in my date chutney. It's a tamarind and a date chutney. So I use this masala. Now, this is basically coriander, cumin. It's got black pepper. It's got fennel. So saunf is there in this. So ये मैंने गरम मसाला बनाया हुआ है, which I use for my tamarind and date chutney. So I just put it on top. So when you open the lid, you just get a good whiff of garam masala. The way we open your biryani and you feel saffron and cardamom. So now, Vishal, I've mixed all these ingredients. This is pan fried. So grated some potato, green peas, onion, and some of the spices as per your taste, and we've made this beautiful mixture.
Okay.
Right? And
so
now,
and in no particular order, you can just mix all of these things, right?
If you like, you can saute onion and ginger. Some people like it little cooked, but I like it raw. I like the raw earthy flavor of onion and ginger. Something very similar to chapli kebab, what you would make. I think it happened, yesterday, I guess it was there. So I think something very similar. But I like that raw onion and ginger. So I did not cook it, but you can actually stir fry it and cook it quickly. So once your mixture is ready, you can keep it in the fridge for some time so that it gets nice and tight. And if you think it's still a little soft, you can add some bhuna hua besan, just to give a little binding. Now we've shaped our tikkis. So these are the little tikkis which we have done. These are little kebabs which we have done. And I've coated this kebab with semolina. So this will give me a good texture. So now let's start cooking. So I have a pan which is already nice and hot over here. And there is, I always use some desi ghee, to cook the kebabs. So that is already there. So maybe just a little bit more. I tried one just to make sure that they come out nice. So hence my pan already has some ghee. So let's heat this up very quickly. So while this is happening, I just briefly talk about this is my lemon chili jam. So the traditional chutney I'm going to serve this with. So let's do a quick plating of this. So you see the lemon chutney, and I think the lemon and the garlic, everything will go very well with this kebab. So just a little dollop. You see how thick it is. It just stays there. And then I'm going to do my jamun relish. It is nice and purple. In fact, the chunks of jamun you will feel this relish. I'll just bring it here so that it's nice and clear. And then, of course, a beautiful date and tamarind chutney comes over here. So that's it. We got beautiful flavors lined up. So let's come back to our kebab. The pan is nice and hot. So we just put our tikkis over here.
So do you do a lot of cooking at home as well?
You know, for the last 3 months, I tried to share kitchen with my wife. I mean, she allowed me to cook, and yes, I do. I mean, during my usual day, I would not get time. But I think this COVID has given me enough opportunity to get used to this kitchen. This is a different ball game. You know, professional kitchen and home kitchen is different, but I'm getting hang of it. You know, so it is very different. Yes, I do, and I love cooking for my kids and my family because that's the only way I connect with them. So switch off the fan, I think, because it's getting hot.
Also, kebabs.
Sorry.
You also do these kebabs in oven for people, or do like air fry. Some people who want without oil, air fry or oven.
Of course, we can, you know, the amount of oil or ghee you're putting in a pan. That's why I'm using a non-stick pan. You can actually just cook it without any fat medium. Just get a nice color, or put in a air dryer. You know, it's a where you actually cook it without any oil or ghee, air fryer. So we can do that, of course. It's a personal choice.
I love the combination of soya, mutton, and also semolina. I think the combination is really sounds good, and of course with the usual dhania, whatever, and other things, right?
Of course, you can put in anything, you know. So in Ireland, I had actually made a similar kebab where I had stuffed goat cheese in it.
Wow.
So we did a nice stuffing of goat cheese. So when you break it, so the goat cheese comes out, and then I did a tamarind and a black grape chutney with it. So that's how we played around with flavors. The tamarind chutney, the way we do it, add black grapes to it. It gives a beautiful color, you know, and the flavors, they go so well. And of course the goat cheese and the grape, they all marry very well together. So getting a nice color now. So just another minute on both sides. It's getting nice and crisp.
Okay, while you are making, tell us, I think you have traveled a lot. You are a biker also. So, you know, I really love this combination of, you know, chefs being bikers and travelers. I think there's some which, you know, there's certain artistic person makes them. So tell us, I think, about I think you've traveled a bike a lot in South, right? From Kerala to Tamil Nadu, even maybe. So tell us some of the experiences of some really good places. I think you've been to Pondicherry, Kerala, like any good food experiences while traveling you can share?
I think a couple of things which come up straight in my mind. First of all, Vishal, I would say, as a chef, you need to travel. You know, unless you don't travel, unless you don't stay in a place, eat in that, you know, eat with the locals, you don't understand the cuisine. By reading the books, you will never understand how the dish tastes. You know, if you want to, you know about Lucknowi biryani, unless you have biryani by kilo, you need to go to Lucknow, I guess, you know, and learn from the masters. But of course, you are here now, giving us a good experience, because now you have khansamas from these places working in your places. But I'm an old-fashioned chef, so I like to go to these places, and biking became a medium to travel, you know, to reach these places. And I think we went to Ambur. I remember I went to Pondicherry. From Bangalore, we went to Cochin, where we ate in a Kalu shop, which is a toddy shop. I think the most beautiful meal, I think one of the best memories of my that culinary trip was the meal I got in toddy shop, because then I went to the kitchen and I saw how it was being prepared. You know, this was just 2 years back. Today's age, the meal was being cooked on wood fire by the ladies, and the gentlemen will heat up and give it to you. So they would have duck curry, Kerala style. So it was phenomenal experience. So that wouldn't have happened if I had not traveled. You will not get that food in the finest fine dining restaurant, that rustic, flavor. Then from there we went to Pondicherry, ate a couple of places in Pondicherry. But then on our way back, we wanted to go to Ambur, which is famous for biryani, Ambur biryani. So we stayed in the kitchen. I guess we'll just plate a kebab. It's got nice golden brown. So I'll just bring this on a plate over here. So yeah, Ambur biryani was also an experience. Now they call it biryani, but actually they cook it like a pilaf.
Right.
Most of the they cook rice and meat together. So here is a small little dish, which is done with my chutneys. So yeah, different flavors. Everything is Indian. You don't, when you say fusion Indian, you don't have to bring in Western ingredients. There's so much you can do with our own Indian ingredients. Everything on the plate is Indian. The flavors are Indian. Everything is traditional, but how you combine them, how you think, because generally you would find this with a mint chutney, or a tamarind chutney. I think let's go inside and, out of the kitchen. It's getting a little long here.
Going to send us the recipe for this so we can put it on our Insta.
Sure. We'll do that, Vishal. So great. So so the beautiful dish is ready.
Wow.
So these are my kebabs, and I wish I can send you some and you can taste it. So yes, coming back to the travel, I think I learned a lot by traveling. Whether it was in Europe or it was in India, the southern part of India, I spent nearly 12 to 15 years in South. I traveled a lot. And I think, I recently conducted a workshop on Karnataka cuisine because I traveled within Karnataka and experienced the cuisines of Karnataka. The Coorg has a different style of cooking. The Mangalore has different style of cooking. You go to Udupi. I went to Udupi, which is the cooking is very different. It's a temple city, very different. So I think it's a phenomenal journey being a chef, being a cook. You need to travel. Now I'm going to go to Banaras. I've never been to Banaras. I want to learn how the...
I did my engineering at IIT BHU. So I have stayed in Banaras 4 years. You know that city. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, Vishal, where all to go. I want to spend some time, go to Banaras and eat there. So yeah, traveling is important. I think you need to travel.
But I think, now when we are doing this chef series with, one of the best Indian chefs in India and world, one thing common I'm seeing is traveling. The chefs want to explore, because I think food is not only a recipe. It is about a narrative. It is about emotions. It is about a culture. It is about how they cook, what kind of vessels, how things are done. So I think you have to absorb by traveling, by looking at the natives, by interacting with them, by actually going through the process and soaking the culture. Then only the importance, and it stays like an emotional memory. So I think the narrative is very important here in the culture. Right.
Absolutely. Spot on. I completely agree.
Anything about Irish culture? You lived there 5 years. You noticed when you were very different from Indian people. Any interesting anecdotes?
I think they're happy people. They know how to enjoy life. I think we need to relax a bit. So that part I think we can learn from Irish. It's a different culture, but they're very similar to our roots. Very, very similar how we think. Because Irish were also ruled by British for many years. So the connect with Indians happened instantly. But I think they are fun-loving people. They live from Monday to Friday midday, and after that the life starts. It's in the pubs and it's socializing, meeting. They don't worry much. I think we worry a lot. And COVID has given us chance to step back. Come back to our families. Connect with each other, spend time with each other. Yes, we cannot go out much, but I think we are happy. I've seen people happy. I've seen people healthier. Everybody's getting better, healthy. The pollution is less. So I think in this whole fast pace of life, we were kind of missing out that, which I saw that in Irish. They would work very hard till Friday, and I guess same thing in Europe. But Irish are fun-loving people. I think that's what I would bring back to India. And I wish we could live like this.
Always. I have been in Dublin, and first of all, the one evening I remember there, it's like every pub I went to, they were live singers. They sing
Absolutely.
a lot, and I think a lot of male singers also, right? I think one thing that I noticed, and when I was staying there for a few days, not like you, but for a few days, like on a Sunday afternoon, I just went, or morning, in fact, not even afternoon, 12 o'clock. They were all having their guineas, right? Even on a Sunday, 11 o'clock. And
Absolutely.
right, and I think singing was one thing I saw in most of the pubs I went, 6, 7 in the evening. There was just singing everywhere. Is that a culture there, singing, and especially men singing, right? In a very melodious way.
Absolutely, absolutely. The Irish are some great musicians. I mean, in India, if you go to Rajasthan, you have these folk singers, and they sing folk song. Ireland, when you go to these pubs, so there's a pub in Dublin called Temple Bar. So it is famous for the folk singers. There are many more. I mean, on the mountains, Wicklow Mountains, there's a pub. I'm not getting the name. I mean, Johnny Fox. These are my favorite places where I would take my Indian friends whenever somebody comes from home, and let's go. And believe me, that night or evening, what we would spend there, it will be remembered all your life. So similarly, we have in India as well. But because the country is small, it's the size of Kashmir, and the population is roughly 6 million at that time, which is probably half the population of Delhi. So everybody is concentrated in that area, and Dublin has the maximum population. I would say 70%, 60% of the population of Ireland is in Dublin. So there's so much of singing, dancing. It's in the culture. They're happy people.
How do you think Biryani by Kilo will do in Dublin?
Very well.
Very well.
They'll do very well.
So we'll take your help once the lockdown opens. Anyway, next year is international expansion for Biryani by Kilo, and we'll make Dublin one of our first spots. One of the first.
It has to. It has to. And I wish and I pray it happens very soon.
Yes. And, I really like your positive outlook. You're very, very positive. I can sense that. Like lockdown, of course, it's helped us also. Of course, it has, helped restrict businesses, life. But it has also helped us maybe, being healthy, connect to our families, to our own inner selves, cook more, enjoy life. So I think, thank you so much, for sharing your journey and, of course, your recipe for the soya keema mutton tikki and so much more. And, I wish you all the best for the new venture you are doing on the relishes. I'll order soon, and I'll just say keep ordering Biryani by Kilo. And, once the lockdown opens, we live both in Gurgaon. We'll meet soon. And
I have to learn a lot from you, Vishal. I want to understand how you scale up. So, because I'm new in business, this is my first time. I've just taken the plunge, and now know, things are down. But I feel that this is the best time to take a plunge, if you can.
Time, and you teach me some of your cooking skills. I'll teach you business, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So wish you all the best, and thank you so much. Lovely talking.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.